Hello, it's Phillip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm looking at a book which has come to us from the Legal Action Group, which is the Access to Justice charity. This book is an old favourite, if I can put it that way. It's one that has appeared in a number of editions. This is now the third edition of Extradition Law, a Practitioner's Guide. It's not a big book, but it's a very important one. It's been written by Edward Grange and Rebecca Niblock. Elizabeth wrote the original draft after a discussion that we had about the book, having gone through it, and the title we've given, A Perfect Introduction to the Complexities of Extradition Law, now in a new third edition, and it's for 2021. Now there's the actual book itself, there's the front of it, there's the spine, and there's the back. This book came to us recently. I'm recording it in the autumn of 2021, and at that time obviously it's only just recently arrived. You can see that from the index that following the house style of lag, it's by paragraph numbering, the index, and at the front you've got the standard blurb. There's some information about the authors, and you've also got the actual front page there. You can see in addition to that, it's available as an e-book as well. That's all the blurb. The first edition came out in 2013 and the second in 2015. So there's been a little bit of a gap. Then Mrs. Justice Arbuthnot, who will feature in a minute, Emma Arbuthnot, has produced an excellent foreword to the book. And you've then got, she's actually referred to as the Senior District Judge, Chief Magistrates between 2016 and 2021. Then of course she was elevated to the High Court bench. Then you've got a preface. It's also worth reading because it sets out August 2021 what's happened to change from the previous edition, and then acknowledgements from Ed and Rebecca, as they call themselves. And then you've got the contents section there. You see quite a lot of information all about extradition. Actually, for someone who's relatively new to it, I think it's quite a useful link with the concept of extradition and the human rights issues and proportionality. Then you've got section 11, or chapter 11 on appeals, and then ancillary matters, the Interpol and various other things. And then you've got a large number of appendices at the back. That's in the shaded area there. And then you go in from there. You've got some cases, of course. Then after the cases, you've got some statutes. Then after the statutes, you've got a little bit of SI, statutory instruments. Then you've got a little bit of European legislation. Then you've got, after that, see if there's anything else. Yes, you've got the international agreements as well, which of course are quite important, of course, in this area. Just a lot of publicity about extradition, as I'm sure you will know. You've then got the abbreviations, which I think are very helpful because there are a lot of them. There we go. And then you get into the standard structure for a legal action group publication. You've got a chapter, you've got a little mini index for the chapter, and then you've got the work itself. Excuse me. You've got paragraph numbering at the sides there, and you've got the footnoting, which you can probably see there. Now the chapter, the mini index there, should actually work nicely with what you're looking for in the main index at the back. So you should be able to navigate your way through pretty quickly. You've also got very useful things, which are the emotional things, the stuff you get in the newspapers. The initial hearing in arrest warrant cases, for instance. That's just setting out one area which would be perhaps of interest to quite a lot of more general readers. But what do we get with the book? Well, for novice practitioners to the more experienced practitioners, and indeed duty solicitors to new appropriate judges in this area, or anybody involved professionally in the complexities of extradition law, this book we think will provide invaluable information, both as an authoritative work of reference and as a tool for confident and competent practice. Excuse me. And that's what you're getting, because, as I say, it's in the third edition. There have been quite a lot of cases which have been in the newspapers nationally about extradition law, and of course it is a problem for a lot of people who have different views about what we should be doing. But this tries dispassionately to set out exactly where we are at the moment with the current rules, because the expert authors, they call themselves Ed and Rebecca, that's Edward Grange and Rebecca Niblock, remind us in their preface that the 6-year gap between the publication of the second edition, and that's in 2015, and his new one, is, one might say, the obvious consequence of the vote in June 2016 to leave the EU, European Union. That's known as Brexit. And of course that has, plus the other problems we've had, the pandemic caused a few problems. I've got a quote here. "We had 4.5 years to speculate on the EU's extradition arrangements in the EU 27, what in the EU 27 would be," they point out. And that is referring specifically, in particular, to the Trade and Cooperation Act being in a final agreement. And of course that sort of, quote, "current arrangements replicate the features of the European arrest warrant to a very large extent." And there has been, of course, a great deal of concern about what was going to happen to the European arrest warrant. Well, the book will give you the guidance you need at the moment, subject to whatever is going to happen in the future. And I think we are looking very much at where the law stands, because my view is that the law is as stated here, is probably in the summer of 2021. Now, as Mrs. Justice Arbuthnot explains in the foreword, that the approach to arrest warrants under the Trade and Cooperation Act is a new area of law which will be of particular significance in the months and years to come. And I'm glad she said that, because she was involved when she was the Chief District Judge Criminal Cases, Criminal Courts, to be at the forefront of this. And just to confound and compound realities in the practice of this area of law, along came the coronavirus, creating general havoc to everybody across the planet and necessitating quite profound changes in the way in which extradition cases are presented and are heard. And I think, again, because of the problems we've had, there's been a tremendous difficulty with court hearings. Obviously, many of the ones I've done have been by Zoom, very few attended parties hearings, and obviously things have been difficult. Now, we are hoping, with the new law year just about to start on the 3rd of October, that things will change. And it's very reassuring then to hear from Mrs. Justice Arbuthnot with her comments that this succinct and authoritative guide, quote, "packs a big punch," as it takes you by the hand and guides you through the pitfalls that await the unwary, and that's exactly what they do. It includes, of course, the complexities of, for example, the case management, legal aid, skeleton arguments, and certainly much, much more processes involved in dealing with an extradition matter. It's another superb and useful initiative from the Legal Action Group, and it sets out the law for those arrested after 11 p.m. on the 31st of December 2020. And as I say, the law is probably as set out round about the middle of 2021. It's definitive, it's practical, very much up to date for what you would expect, and it's a book which can be considered truly indispensable, I think, for any and all practitioners in this field. The date of publication of the paperback, 3rd edition, is cited as at the 10th of September 2021. Let's just have one last look at it. It's a slim volume. There it is. You see there? You can't really make out much of the inverted colour there of what's in it on the back, but it does set out the various contents, which I'm not going to go into here. Let's open it in the middle. Human rights and proportionality. There we go. That's the big one. And you've got here, you can see the paragraph numbering, you can see the footnoting, again the paragraph numbering again on the inside there, and the footnoting. A lot of information throughout, a lot of detail, and of course the important information in the appendices is the relevant legislation and guidance. There's a bail checklist as well, which I think is also very helpful depending on what sort of work you're doing. All in all, I'd like to thank Ed and Rebecca very much indeed, as they style themselves, for producing this new edition. Thank you, and also thank you to LAG. You do make our lives a great deal easier with these excellent books. Thank you to all. Bye-bye.